It's California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are joined yet again by two special friends, Walter Dominguez and Shelly Morrison. You surely recognize Shelley from her work on Will and Grace, Flying Nun, so many great sitcoms and movies throughout the years. Her partner in crime, Walter Dominguez, is here, of course, with us, her partner in life. And I bring you on not so much to talk about Will and Grace, although it was one of my favorite shows of all time. I want to talk about family and connections. I mentioned to you I was recently in Poland to try to rediscover my roots and was looking for a particular man who knew my grandmother's family and went through several layers of people who could not have been more kind to help me find this man, and we did. And it was life-changing. And that's the journey that you have taken, Walter, a journey that we can see in your film, done with Shelley, Weaving the Past, Journey of Discovery. Talk to us about connections and family.
Well, I think that Shelley has been talking a lot lately about how technology is so wonderful, the cell phones and texting and all this sort of thing, but at the same time we're in danger of losing that personal connection with people. And so what I discovered in making this film is how important it is to have those face-to-face interpersonal moments, those hours spent with somebody and listening and talking and letting things just evolve gradually rather than rushing through to the next email or the next phone call. And so going back in time to try to learn about my grandfather's early life, a man who was so good to me and I respected so much, meant so much to me. And when he died, I was devastated. I was a young man. And cut 2 years later, and I realized that I need to go on a quest to learn about him as much for myself as to learn about him. I needed to connect some things inside of myself.
Shelley, as Walter's partner, as Walter's spouse, you met him right after the passing of this giant, Emilio. So you've been on this journey with Walter as he sought to discover more about his grandfather, that man that he revered so much. What have you seen over the last 3-4 decades as Walter has gone on this journey?
I think we've both gone on.
Well stated.
We've both been on a journey, and it's Walter and I follow a very, very simple practice. We feel everyone and everything is sacred. And the kind of work we wanted to be associated with is work that enriches people in some way, either to make them laugh, or to make them feel, or to reawaken them, or to connect them in some way. Connections. I love that word, connections. And so we have been blessed that we are able to do the kind of work that doesn't add to the confusion of the world. There's enough confusion in the world. And we want to entertain people, but at the same time, we want to give them an experience. And it's universal. I don't care what your background is. It's universal. To feel, to connect. We see so many things on television or movies, explosions, and we become numb.
What's interesting about your quest to create those connections is through this film, it's not a traditional documentary, it's a docu-drama.
It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid, well stated. And you have decided to create that vehicle as a hybrid. Why? It's an interesting choice.
We had no choice.
Well, there were things in my grandfather's life as I began to learn more and more about him and the young men that he was associated with in Mexico and here in the Southwest. They all came together across the border. These were very idealistic young men, but they encountered many, many obstacles, and they had some very heartbreaking experiences. They were very dramatic, very hard to convey just through, and there weren't that many stills. One of the fellows, there was just the one photograph of him that our family happened to inherit through my grandfather. This young man gave it to him when he was 15 years old, and my grandfather hung on to that photograph throughout his life. And I lost my thread.
No, but the point
I
being,
want to go back to the photograph of that was the family photograph of Praxedis
Who is?
Guerrero, who was one of the most important revolutionaries who tried to save the people. And after the film, after we went back and forth, he did, to Mexico. One trip I went back with him and we went to Pachuca. Pachuca has this magnificent museum. And Walter had informed them ahead of time that we were bringing Praxedis' photograph to be placed in the museum because that's their hero, and it was the only photograph.
wow.
So when we got there was all these people, and there was a reception, and they already had a place ready for the picture to go.
Right. Connections.
Connections, monumental connections. And everyone who will come see this film will bring their own.
And let's talk about seeing this film, because we are on the verge of a limited engagement, which will be taking place at the Laemmle Playhouse in Pasadena. We'll put all the information on the screen. It's August 15th to the 21st. And what I really appreciate you saying, Shelley, is that whether you are of Mexican-American descent, of Jewish descent, it doesn't matter what your descent is, the story connects, because we are looking for those connections. And like you said, Walter, in this era of texting and emailing, it's so hard to build that human connection. And it's tough to see our children, metaphorically and literally, the only connections they're building are on their cell phones. And yet Emilio was building connections up and down Central and North America, one-on-one, person to person.
This, to answer your previous question, it came back to me now.
Please.
The reason we wanted to do reenactments
Yes.
was because there was so much drama in his life, and it was important to share that, put people in his shoes, in the shoes of his companions, so everyone could feel and see what it was like.
I want to ask you, if I may, because I see me in you. I am forever obsessed with my ancestry. I want to know every single thing about my ancestors whom I never knew. I heard someone ask me once, if you could meet your great-great-grandfather or your great-great-grandchild, who would you meet? I want to meet the great-great-grandfather. Most people want to meet the great-great-grandchild. What is it about us three crazies, Meshuggahs as they say, that we have such a
Curiosity?
About.
Yeah, I think it's the curiosity about, we are all here as a result of people who came before us, and most of them, a gigantic proportion of them, we have no idea who they were.
None.
Zero.
For the Mexican American, the history's gone. For Jewish American, erased in the Holocaust, erased in the Mexican independence.
Yes.
Erased.
Try the Inquisition.
Spanish Inquisition. You're a
Inquisition.
Sephardic Jew.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy how it can really.
It leaves a big hole, a big mystery, and the people with a lot of curiosity, and I think we're that way, want to know. We want to find out, and I think it's really important for people to do that. We learn about traits we have, and we
That's it,
realize.
because all of a sudden you're saying, why am I so interested in this?
Right.
What does this have to do with the price of tomatoes?
Right.
And you find out this other relative was
Sold
an expert,
tomatoes.
Was an expert.
It's sold tomatoes.
Exactly.
The film will be screened in Pasadena at the Laemmle Playhouse 7, Friday, August 15th to the 21st. You can buy tickets now or at the box office. Walter, Shelley, thank you so much for joining us. It is called Weaving the Past, Journey of Discovery. I'm going, you should too. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.